The answer is to love yourself more deeply, but most of us don't know how to do that. So even just saying that, like whatever it is that you don't know, ask it out, like out loud in your head. Say, like, I don't know how to do this. And whether it's God, universe, source, whatever you believe is the higher power, maybe you just believe it's your intuition, whatever it is that you believe, ask it.
Welcome to the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, a global community of women in midlife. I'm here to tell you that it's your time now to rediscover what has always been inside of you and bring that out into the world. If you're wondering what's next, but don't know quite what that is, or if you feel a twinge in your heart telling you that you have so much more to do and so much more to offer, you're in the right place. Ask yourself, if not now, when? Do you want to leave your job, start your own business, take control of your health, reignite the passion in your marriage, write that book, or at least that first chapter? Transitions like this can be daunting, but through listening to my story and interviews with incredible women every week, I hope to inspire you to take action. I rediscovered myself after the age of 50, and I know you can too. It's my time now to help you do just that. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Hi, everyone, and welcome to another episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. Welcome to August. I hope you're enjoying a beautiful and hot summer. I know we are for sure. I took a little break last week and we went on a short but lovely trip to Florida, where I was blessed to celebrate my birthday with my husband and best friends. When I returned, I posted a picture of me on LinkedIn and Facebook and Instagram with my birthday candle and my favorite chocolate lava cake. And I have actually been amazed by the response to a question that I posed in the post. So I thought I'd share it with you here. Do you tell people how old you are? Why or why not? I'm happy to say that I turned 56 years of age. I will readily admit that I probably wouldn't have announced that so freely a few years ago, but my perspective has changed. Why? Because I truly believe that every year brings with it more wonderful experiences, learning, and new memories to cherish. Of course, the thought of getting older makes us a bit anxious of how much time we have left. However, I challenge you to change your perspective. What if we looked at what's ahead with excitement and curiosity? What if we looked at the years ahead not with fear of change, but anticipation of opportunities? It also reminds us, as I always say, to live life every moment to the fullest. Remember, if not now, when? This post brought so many people forward commenting on how they love sharing their age and are proud of themselves for all the great things that their years have brought them. Why be ashamed to tell our age? That is the general consensus, and I'm so glad that this conversation is out there more and more. Age is just a number, my friend. It is the quality of our lives, the passion by which we live it, and the lives we touch that really matter. I'd love to hear your perspective on celebrating your birthdays. DM me, comment on LinkedIn, book a call with me with a link in the show notes, and let's chat about your vision for your wonderful life ahead. Enjoy this next episode with the wonderful Emmy Rousseau, and I'll see you at the end with the key takeaways. Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of the Midlife Reinvention Podcast. I'm your host, Kavita Ahuja, and the founder of Power Purpose Play, which is a global community of women in midlife. I'm also a certified life transition and core energy coach, and my bold mission is to empower 1 million women in midlife worldwide to find their inner power and purpose, and to say with confidence, it's my time now. As part of this mission, I interview incredible women for this podcast who share their stories of reinvention and who will give you their advice on how to overcome the obstacles in your way to reach the vision for yourself in this next stage of life. This week is no exception in that I am very pleased to have on the show today Emmy Rousseau. Emmy, who is referred to as the Warrior of Love, is the founder of Trinity Transformations and the Holistic Healing Hub. She empowers changemakers to go from feeling flat to in flow so that they can create the change in the world that they were born to make. Emmy is passionate about helping others realize that self-love is selfless, not selfish. She's here to flip the paradigm of service to offer to others on its head so that we can see how putting ourselves first helps us serve not only ourselves, but also the world best. Emmy is a certified teacher of 22 years, a transformational speaker, activist, and fitness instructor. She's a contributing author to the upcoming book, Our Yellow Brick Road. So thank you so much, Emmy, for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for having me. And I love when at the beginning of your podcast, always hearing about your bold mission. Because I think it's fantastic when I'm a dreamer, so I love to meet other dreamers, which is why I think I was drawn to you. And so thank you for having me on today.
It's wonderful. Thanks for that compliment. Yeah, I think I agree. If we don't dream big, then what's the point, right? And once we put the dream out there, then it starts the process of actually realizing that, right? So I'm really excited to get into your background and to talk a little bit more about what you do. But first, I wanted to talk a little bit about how you came to be where you are today. And we talk a lot about challenges in our life, and you actually empower women to tune into their intuition to overcome some of the overwhelm in their lives and to take back their lives. And I understand that you also struggled with depression and anxiety in the past. So if you could tell our audience a little bit about your story and how you overcame those big challenges, and now you're teaching others to do the same. So tell us a little bit about that.
Absolutely. So, of course, it's a journey, and I'm still on that journey of learning more and more to listen to my intuition. The more that I do, the better my life gets. That's the bottom line with that. But absolutely, I was diagnosed with a depressive disorder probably, 15 years ago now, something like that. And actually for me at the time, it was such a relief because I had felt like there was something wrong with me, like air quotes wrong with me for years. Since I was a young teen, I remember thinking like, why doesn't anybody get me? Because I was that person that on the outside looked like I had it all. I had good grades. I was a model student. I was in the social justice club, which then when it was a council, I became an executive member. I had great friends, everything. Like we had the nuclear family. And then I grew up and I got married and had 3 kids. And it was the whole white picket fence type story. I was a teacher, everything, every job I ever went for, I got everything I wanted, every goal I wanted, I got it. So on the outside, it looked like I had this perfect life. And so people didn't believe me that I was drowning on the inside. A lot of people I didn't tell a lot of people, but those I did, many of them were like, oh, it must be just sad, like seasonal affective disorder, or, oh, it's report card time because you're a teacher. It's just stress. Like it's totally fine. You'll get over it. And I'm like, then you really start to think you're crazy because you're like, I feel inside like I'm totally drowning. And these people are telling me I'm 100% fine. And so I went through that for many, many years. When I got diagnosed, I was actually like, whew, okay, I can actually say what's wrong with me in my head. Now I know there's nothing wrong with me. I was never broken. Yes, I have a depressive disorder, which is a chemical imbalance in my brain. And I've since learned I have anxiety as well. But that's not who I am. That is a condition that I have. And so then there was, after the relief came the shame and the stigma of I'm a teacher. I can't let people know I'm depressed because who's going to want their kids being taught by a depressed teacher? Like that must mean I'm a shitty teacher, which I wasn't. I was a fantastic teacher. But all of those things, like if I'm such a high person in the realm of society, then I can't be this. I can't be this weak person. But my mom really turned it around for me. I'm so grateful to her for this. When she said to me one day, listen, like having depression, it's a medical issue. It's no different than if you had diabetes and you needed insulin.
Yes.
Like nobody says, oh my gosh, you're diabetic. Like, well, just get off the insulin. Like, no, that's just
you'll be okay. You'll be okay. Just get off it.
Just forget it. Just be fine. I'm not saying there aren't other holistic ways, but nobody shames you for
Right.
being on insulin when you're diabetic, right? But there's this shame of you take medication when you're depressed, or you need this because you're depressed. You can't do this because you're depressed. So she's like, there's no difference, Marlena. Like, you need medication to balance a medical condition. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain. Yeah, okay. And so for a while, I was like, okay, I need medication. It's fine. But for me, the medication took away my emotions. I used to cry at every movie. I used to be really happy. And on medication, I was just flatlined. So for me, it wasn't the answer. I did not want to live my whole life flatlined. So then I started gathering all these tools to help me holistically so that I would find the joy in life again and I could feel again. And once I did that, I was able to go off medication. I'm not saying everybody can go off medication. This is not a, hey, like, do this and you'll be off medication. That's what I'm saying. I'm just sharing my own personal story. And there is absolutely nothing wrong if you need to be on medication for the rest of your life. I was ready to do that. But it just so happened that as I built all these tools, I was like, I feel pretty good. And I talked to my doctor and we tried it and it worked for me. So now I have this amazing toolbox of coping strategies that, especially during COVID, like our regular coping strategies didn't work anymore because they are designed for short-term stress. And this was such a long stressor. We didn't know when it was going to end. And so the regular strategies didn't work. And I actually got reassessed during that time by a psychologist. And she was like, well, I don't even know, like, you have amazing coping strategies. So it's really hard to tell if it's that you have these amazing coping strategies and now you're good, or maybe you didn't even have, maybe you were misdiagnosed. I don't know. But I know that there's an issue because it's not like, oh, I'm cured now. There are lots of days where I get into that downward spiral. So, but these coping strategies are amazing. So how could I not share them? So now share them with the world to help other people.
Yeah. That's great. Thanks for sharing. I think that so much of what you said actually resonates with me because I kind of went through very similar in that you said that everything seemed perfect on the outside. However, you were drowning on the inside. And I think that a lot of women can relate to that because there's always that facade, right? There's that we always have to look up to or kind of
live up to.
Yes, exactly. So the roles that we play, right? The teacher, the mother, the daughter, the wife, all these roles that we kind of have to conform to. And that can cause a lot of stress for us because we can't really express how we're actually feeling inside. So the more and more we talk about these things, and depression and anxiety are, of course, I'm happy to hear that more and more people are talking about it and it's not such a stigma. But that's wonderful that you were able to, in your way, these coping strategies. And I think we're going to talk about those. If you'd like to share those, that would be wonderful for people to learn. But you also, so now you refer yourself as a warrior of love. So, and so tell me about that. And you also are empowering changemakers to create the change in the world they were born to make. So tell us about that and how you went from what you just described to being a warrior of love. And you also have, I mean, I don't know if this relates to, but you have these pillars. You talk about gratitude, joy, and self-love. So are these part of your coping strategies or is it, tell me, how does that all kind of fit in?
Oh yeah. It's hard to separate them. It is absolutely a holistic thing. It's like the puzzle pieces that make the whole puzzle for sure. It was in my journey to really learning to love myself because as a kid, I definitely did not. I had a lot of self-confidence issues and all of that. And then there's the depression and all that. On top of it, in these last few years, have been given the grace of extra time. That was the beautiful silver lining of the pandemic for me, was I had this extra time to slow down and learn to be more and do less and really go inside and do the inner work to learn to love myself. And that's where the joy resides, is within. So yes. And as you do that, like, how can you not be grateful? And so it is this like circular path that just more gratitude leads to more joy, leads to more self-love, leads to more gratitude and like that. So that's how those three tie in for sure. And I happened to come across an incredible spiritual fitness practice called Intensati, which I know we're going to touch more on later. And the woman who created it, Patricia Moreno, passed away about probably 4 months ago now. but she had been doing it for 20 years. They're celebrating 20 years of Intensati this year. And she was a warrior of love. And so now as she has passed, there are many of us who have taken on, her mission was to reach 7.6 million people. And we're like, okay, we are your warriors of love. We carry on this mission. But it really, the funny thing was that I already was like, love was my word. You see it behind me here. I have a huge painting of love in my living room on the behind my couch. And it was already part of my path. So just amazing that all of a sudden this came into my life that's so aligned. As you say, we put things into the universe and then we're not sure how this mission is going to happen. And it was just another piece of the puzzle that fit really well. So that's why Warrior of Love.
Okay.
And I've been an advocate since probably I remember being 8 years old and hearing a racist comment from a family member and going like, and I felt too young to really say anything to an adult then, but that just lit the fire inside me. And ever since anti-racism was my first passion. And now I call it my little dream, but it's my bold mission for sure, is to end all isms. And I never knew, how could I end all isms? Like there's a bold goal for you, right?
Yeah.
But I realized that it's through bringing other visionaries together who have their own like passion for this particular ism or that particular ism or whatever it is. Or it doesn't even have to be an ism, but I know I will gather those people in my visionaries together as I help them to get clear on what's their message so they can be heard better as a speaker. Then they're going to be helping to end that ism. And this one will be helping to end that ism. And together we will be able to end all isms. And the thing is, though, that most visionaries don't fail because, they lose track of their vision. Their vision that's their guiding light, their North Star. They always have that. The problem is that we have grown up in this paradigm of serve others first, serve everybody first, and you just take the crumbs that are left over. No, that's crap. When we do that, we just deplete ourselves and then we end up with nothing and we can't serve from an empty cup. Like we all know that. So that's where the whole, it's my job to flip the paradigm to let people know that self-love being your first and most important love is how you actually serve the world best. So I help the changemakers to refuel and fill themselves and start serving from their overflow, as Lisa Nichols says, so that everybody in the world is served 1,000,000 times better, including themselves.
How do you bring them together? Is there a platform that you have that you bring these change makers together? Or
Yes. Yeah. So I have a community, and it's funny. I was just talking today. I kind of had two communities, the Lovolution and Difference Makers Meet. And then I was like, you know what? They're really like the same community. Why am I keeping these two separate? So literally today, I'm going into my Facebook group to change the name from Difference Makers Meet to the Lovolution, because every difference maker has a passion for something, a love for something. That's what's driving them forward. And I want to help them realize that it needs to start with self-love. So that is what I do. I have this group there. And I will be launching an emerging speakers club for visionaries to help them, like I said, with their voice in the fall. So that's coming. Nice. That's going to be one of the ways that I help visionaries.
I love that. Lovolution. And that's true. I think that there are so many isms. There's obviously sexism and prejudice, and there's ageism, which is what we talk about a lot about here as well. And that could be as you grow older, and for younger people as well, because you're not old enough. You haven't had the experience, and you don't know enough about life, and so it can go both ways. So I love that you have that bold mission, and like we talked about earlier, that's important to have in order to gather people together and raise that awareness of all these different isms. So good for you.
Thank you.
That's wonderful. So Emmy, you also talk about living a life of abundance, and you mentioned a little bit about the body connection, and I want to get into that a little bit more, but you talk about the mind, body, and soul connection. And so tell me practically, how does one do that in order to live this life of abundance that we all kind of seek? And abundance doesn't necessarily mean, in my mind anyway, you can tell me what means yours. It's not abundance of wealth or money. It could be abundance of love or gratitude. But tell me about that. And
Exactly. No, abundance to me means abundance of every good thing you possibly could desire. Right.
yeah,
So
yeah.
part of it could be money. Absolutely. A lot of people think about it as prosperity and riches, and it goes a lot further than that, like you said. So I agree 100%. There's lots of ways to abundance. And there's a lot of people that are way manifesting teachers that could teach you a million different ways. But I think that's where like also tuning into your intuition is really important. Because if I followed the actual, like from what I've heard, the steps to manifesting, they don't actually work for me. If I follow it exactly like the guidebook, that does not work for me. They say be very specific. Like if it's money, let's say, say a number, by a certain time, and blah, blah, blah. Okay. When I do that, I never, ever reach that. When instead I say, I need to be more general. I need to be like Abraham Hicks says, be as general as you can, but like as specific as you need to, but as general as you can. And that's me. If I say like, I want to make more money today than I did yesterday, I will. And it's not just like, oh, some people say, well, then you'll make a penny more. And what? But no, not for me. I'll make triple more than I did yesterday because I've been general enough. And I'm not, again, that's not to say that's the right way for anyone else. That just happens to be what works for me. I had to tune in and be like, all right, this way, it's not working.
Right.
So again, like having a toolbox, I think this is what's so helpful rather than like a signature system where I say, this is the way. If you do this, this, and this, you're going to get to. No, I say like you could meditate. You could do breath work. You could use movement. You can go for walks. Like there's so many journaling, but all of those things, what they have in common is like, they help you to be present in the moment and to tune out the exterior noise. And I don't mean the sounds of nature that are beautiful or anything, but I mean, the everybody else's opinions that you may not need to hear, the media, the blah, blah, blah. And they also help to, I used to think meditation absolutely couldn't work for me because I have the biggest monkey mind forever. Like it is a racing thing in there for sure. And so they would say like, you're going to calm your mind. Well, I could not calm my mind to save my life. Like,
right.
But once I realized it's not that, yes, you do end up calming your mind, but it's not to get no thoughts at all. And that you're this complete void for whatever, however long you're going to meditate for 20 minutes, half an hour, 3 hours, whatever, it's not that. It's just getting rid of those like repeating crappy voices in your head, the stuff that isn't like the real true you.
Yeah.
That's what happens when you meditate. And when I say that, I really do highly recommend meditation because it's like reading. When people say they don't like to read, I'm like, try a different genre. Like, what have you read? Oh, okay. Well, I love watching true crime stories. I'm like, great, get some true crime books.
Right.
And it's the same with meditation. I mean, there are definitely meditation teachers who will tell you, no, meditating is sitting in silence with your eyes closed, feet on the floor. Okay, that's their opinion. I personally believe and I mean, they're definitely experts in their field, but I think that any activity can be meditative if you're taking it in a mindful way. And so if sitting silently for you is torture and you've tried it and tried it and tried it, and it's still, you've given it a good shot and that's not the way for you, well, a walking meditation might be the way for you. Guided or silent, or there's just so many different genres. So try something. I bet you'll find something that actually works. So I do think meditation is a super, super tool. Yeah. But like I said, it's not the only way. Journaling, breathwork, so many other tools.
Yeah. Yeah. I love the fact that you're saying that it really depends on the person and it really depends on what works for you, because it can't be prescriptive for each person. And I also really agree with you about going general when you're asking for things. And I believe in Abraham Hicks as well. Like I follow her and she says, just go general. And it's also about like how that bring that feeling. If you have a desire or you're asking for something, think about how you feel when you would actually have that. And if you can bring that feeling into today, then that's what it's all about. And by doing these things like meditation and breath work or journaling, that allows you to bring that feeling into today somewhere in the future. So when you bring it more into today, then it becomes more alive and it starts the process of it actually manifesting, right? And I agree with you, because that's one of the reasons I put play in my power purpose play. Is play meaning it can be anything. It can be, as long as you're being and in the moment. I'm a proponent of Eckhart Tolle, of course, being in the present moment. And so I think that's a really important what you said about making it work for you and not feeling guilty if you can't close your eyes for 20 minutes and get the thoughts out of your head, because just accept them that they're there, right?
Exactly.
So those are some of the tools in your toolbox. Is that right?
They are.
Yes.
They are.
Okay. Tell us a little bit. You mentioned a little earlier about mind and movement connection, and tell us, you mentioned intensity. I hadn't heard about that until I talked to you the first time. So tell our audience about that, because it's very super interesting.
It is. So intensity, I was introduced to it about a year ago, and it was so magical for me the first time I did it. I did this class with Patricia on Zoom, of course. And I literally thought, I'm going to teach this someday, because I can see this transforms people's lives. It's a class like nothing else, because it does take the mindset piece and the movement piece and put them together. And then it's not additive, it's exponentially better. Literally the physiology of moving your body while you're saying affirmations helps it to sink into your unconscious, because you're not resisting the affirmations. You're focusing on the movement and you're moving your body. I mean, you're focusing on the affirmations, but your brain doesn't have the time to be like, that's not true, because you also have to focus on the movement at the same time to make sure you're not falling over, literally. I mean, they're not complicated moves, but when we do any number of things together, we have to put more focus on it, right?
Sure.
It is really phenomenal, this system of cardio-based movement with affirmations. And then it starts out with an intention before you start the class, and a reflection on how is this theme showing up in my life from the instructor. And every time I've ever heard any instructor do it, I'm like, that's so my life. Like it's amazing how we pick out what resonates with us. So everybody has that experience. You're like, okay, yeah, I'm glad she talked about that today, because that really mattered to me.
Yeah.
Then we do the class, and at the end, there's usually a meditation, and then there's time for reflection. So everybody, sometimes in intensity, very intense emotions come up, and we say, feel all the feelings, like let them come. So some people will cry, you may have this burst of even anger or incredible joy, like a whole range of emotions could come. So we say, like, feel it. It's okay. It's totally normal to have people bawling their eyes out in an intensity class. And we're like, yep, it's okay. And afterwards, they get the opportunity to talk about what came up for them. Like, who gets that in a fitness class to be able to say, and there's no pressure. It's not like, oh, Kavita, what did you have? Now you have to share. No, it's not like that at all. Whoever wants to share can, whoever doesn't and just wants to listen, like whatever is right for the person is exactly what they do. And such a beautiful, holistic practice that's how it brings the mind, the body, and the spirit all together in 1 hour.
So you said it's cardio based, or is it?
It is.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. So I'm thinking yoga, and it's kind of similar when you do yoga, you do the intentions before class. And, but I think yoga sounds like it's a little bit more, not as intense, if I could use the word, or is that correct?
So, there are intense forms of yoga for sure, like power yoga,
of course. Yeah.
But this is, or if you're in hot yoga, you're going to be, but this is intense in the sense that you're like doing a 20-minute workout type of thing. I'm dating myself, but those of us in the midlife will remember 20-minute workout. And it can be as intense as you want. One of the cool things about intensity, but as far as the intensity goes, is that you can do it from a chair. So today I had to do it from a chair because I sprained my ankle. So I can't stand and do whatever. So it's cool because it's already designed for that. So I literally was there doing my movements. This is happy. So I was doing happy, saying the affirmations and into joy. And of course I'm a bouncer and a dancer. So I don't like bouncing and dancing from my chair. But whether it's today I have a sprained foot or I am in a wheelchair for my life, you can still do intensati. Or you can do it low impact, or you can do it high impact.
Mm-hmm.
And usually I'm able to show, of course, the low and the high impact. Mm-hmm. Today, I talked to people through it, but it was cool.
Nice.
Like, it was
nice.
all
and it's
good.
all is it all ages, and it's online, or it's in live?
All ages, online. Yeah.
Okay.
And that is the cool thing, is that that's one of my visions now, which is to bring it into schools so that kids can benefit from it as well. Because it is something that when I was training, one of the ladies had like her 3-year-old there beside her doing it. So it's really,
that sounds
really
wonderful.
awesome.
I'd love to check that out, and we can put the links in the show notes so people can check that
Everybody
out as well.
can try a free class. Yeah. I always want people to try it first. So we will put the stuff in for that. Yeah. Absolutely.
Excellent. That sounds fantastic. That's wonderful. So also, I just kind of want to flip a little bit and maybe just switch gears a little bit. And if you've heard this podcast, I usually bring in a question about blocks that prevent us from moving forward in life. And especially as women in midlife, 40s, 50s, 60s, and beyond, a lot of the things that we vision for ourselves or we want to do, we don't do because of our self-doubt about ourselves, the feeling that we're not worthy or we're not qualified or not good enough because we're used to doing all these things. We were talking about the roles we play in our lives, right? Mm-hmm. And so how, in your experience and maybe with your clients, how do you teach women to maybe self-care, or how can you get over those feelings of self-doubt and helplessness or lack of confidence in ourselves? Hi, my friend. Kavita here. Do you often feel blocked from moving forward? We all feel that way at times. These are referred to as energy blocks. I've created a short, actionable PDF guide to help you release your negative energy blocks. Click the link in the description to download it now for free. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Mm-hmm. I think it all starts with mindset. You have to believe that you can change your thoughts about it. If you don't believe you can change your thoughts, then you're right. You can't, because you believe that. And so it will be true for you. But knowing that if you have a growth mindset, meaning that you can get better at anything with guided practice, and then independent practice, but starting with guided practice, then that's the start. So like, I absolutely did not have good self-worth. And then through time, through practice, some people say practice makes perfect. I prefer practice makes progress. I'm not a big proponent of perfection.
Right.
I think practice makes progress. And so we do things. And again, like, you tune into what work feels good to you after trying it for some time. So mirror work is an amazing, powerful tool that is very scary for a lot of people, to look in the mirror and say something positive to yourself every day. I mean, I have a friend who cannot even look at herself in the mirror for 5 seconds. Never mind, say something positive. She just cannot even. She brushes her teeth. She doesn't look in the mirror. Like, her therapist said, okay, so when you're in the bathroom brushing your teeth, she's like, oh, no, I don't look in the mirror. I was like, for real? You don't even look in the mirror when you're brushing your teeth? Like, that's how bad it is for you? She says, yeah. So wow. it to just say like, oh, go and do this, well, that might be the scariest thing for someone. Well, then don't start with that. Like, someone else might think, oh, that's easy. I'm already looking at myself in the mirror. So I'll just look there and I'll give myself a high five, like Mel Robbins says. Great. That's going to work for me, right?
Yeah. And
someone else might need to do a hypnosis treatment, to do quantum therapy. Like, there's so many ways, but usually, and even if we're not good at our intuition, like, we're not good at listening to our intuition, because our intuition is amazing, by the way. Nobody has a bad intuition or a weak intuition. We just don't know how to tune into our intuition and listen to it. We've forgotten, because as kids, we knew exactly how to do it, but we've forgotten. So as we learn to get better at it, everybody has those like, oh, that feels like it might be really interesting, or that feels like it might be really good. It just piques your curiosity. That's like a clue. Oh, okay, maybe I should follow that. So whatever it is, like, it can be that, it can be affirmations. It can be affirmations with movement. It can be meditation. It can be therapy. Like, there are so many ways, but yes, you do need to practice getting that old tape that we've been playing for, if we're in midlife, for 40 plus years, that we've been playing the same crap. Well, it's very unlikely that we can have one session. I mean, I have heard of some people who go through one session of hypnosis and are able to reverse those. And that's amazing. Mm-hmm. But that is the more uncommon case. Most of us have to practice it over and over again. When my parents were growing up, the whole taped hypnosis for like smoking cessation, weight loss, whatever was a big thing. So my parents had that for weight loss. And they went to the session, but then they had to play the tape over and over and over again because this tape has been playing for so many years. So of course, right? You have to expect it's going to take practice.
Believe in, of course, in intuition and that little voice that's inside of us that's telling us these things. And I think, especially as we grow older, it's really important to listen to that little voice, because if we don't listen to it now, then when are we going to listen to it? And if we don't act upon what it's telling us, then when are we going to do that? Because you don't want to be regretting things when you look back in life.
I find a lot of people, I don't know if you find this to be true too, feel like, well, how can I tell the difference between my intuition and that tape playing in my head? How do I know which one it is? And so a wise man once said to me, the intuition is like the quiet whisper that just speaks once and then leaves it for quite some time. The program is the replay. Like every 5 minutes you're hearing the same thing. It's probably not your intuition. Your intuition doesn't usually work like that. Your intuition may start with a quiet whisper and eventually seem like yelling at you in a different way. But that's tends to be, I find, a longer process because it is. It's like, it gives you the nudge. It's quiet. It waits. Is she going to hear it? Are they going to hear it? Are they going to move? Like, it's patient, it's not, the tape is the impatient, come on, listen to me now.
That's interesting. When you said that, I'm also thinking that the whisper is more, the little voice is more positive. It leads you in a positive direction, right? Whereas those voices, the incessant voices, are usually telling us negative things, right?
Usually.
So that's possibly also the difference in that. Yeah. And we used to listening to those, I call them gremlins. And in my training, they're called gremlins that they sit on your shoulder. And one of the ways to get rid of them is to just say, well, thank you very much for usually protecting me. You want to protect me from failure or getting outside of my comfort zone. But I've got this. There's, there's ways of getting rid of the gremlin.
Yeah. Well, I think that's the thing, is that we don't really get rid of it, but we transmute them, change them, right? Transform them into oh, you're not my enemy anymore. Yeah. Like, I see you.
It's part of
and
you.
Like you said, like loving them for wanting to protect you. Because really that's exactly what it is, right? Like this thing isn't there to be just the evil voice. It's there to protect you. Yeah. And we need to let it know, hey, I see you. I thank you. I love you for what you want to do. Yes. And I'm a grown-up and I got this.
Yeah. And it's very helpful. I don't know if you do this practice, but it's very helpful to actually name it and draw a picture of it and just say, thanks, Jill, or whatever, for showing up. Because when you actually put a name and picture to it, then it really makes it separates it from you. Right. Mm-hmm. So that's great. Thank you for talking about the intuition. It's so important. I think it's more and more important nowadays because there's so many negative things that are going on in the world. And if we are to focus in on all the negative around us and not focus in on the positive things inside of us, then we can be really awful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's not, and our brain naturally has a negativity bias, right? So we're drawn to those things, whatever. So we have to consciously be like, oh no, I'm going to choose the positive. Mm-hmm. And so listening to our intuition, which, like you said, it's always giving us good advice, and it feels good. Connecting back to how do you feel? Yes. It feels good. So if it feels good, it's like, okay, I will follow that nudge. That feels good.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's easy to fall into following the negative. Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely. So wonderful. Do you tell us, maybe you can, from your practice and what you do, if you have one kind of piece of advice for women who are thinking about, what do I do next? But I don't really know how to do this, or I'm not confident in myself. What would you tell them? What would be your piece of advice for them?
Well, I would say that we really the answer is to love yourself more deeply, but most of us don't know how to do that. So even just saying that, like whatever it is that you don't know, ask it out, like out loud in your head. Say, like, I don't know how to do this. And whether it's God, universe, source, whatever you believe is the higher power, maybe you just believe it's your intuition, whatever it is that you believe, ask it. And I'm telling you, if you are open to hearing the answers, they may come from inside, they may come from your own inner voice, or they may come from something you heard on a podcast. Maybe something's going to be coming from today. Who knows? Right?
Well, yeah.
It could be yesterday. I was doing a live with a friend. We do this weekly live, and all of a sudden she said something, and she didn't. I don't even know what she said. I don't remember, but it reminded me. Hey, you have that course on abundance that you got access to almost a year ago, and you've been wanting to take that course for the longest while, but you forgot about it. Like, go check it out. She didn't talk about a course. I don't know what she talked about, but somehow, and I had just talked about, okay, I'm not sure what's my next step with my business. Sure enough, it was like, oh, look at that. Like that was what I thought in the morning. And then I left it. Like that's the other key is like when we're manifesting stuff, when we want an answer and we manifest answers, we manifest physical things. It doesn't matter. Like it's all manifesting. And it's just saying it out, whether it's out loud or in your head, it doesn't matter. And then letting it go, like what's that word when you think about something over and over?
Ruminating on it or like,
not ruminating on it, but just, I put it out there. Great. And maybe later on in the day, you like put it out again, like that's fine, but you're not like ruminating on it. You can reflect and you can keep putting it out later. You can repeat it, but absolutely. I think just asking those questions when you don't know, whatever the question that comes to your mind is the right question for you. Put it out there and be open to the answers. They will come and probably not in the way you expect them. So you just have to be open to them coming. However,
it's the breadcrumbs that come before us that we have to be open to receiving, right? I always say, one of the things I say, even if things seem to be not going my way or something happens, I'm disappointed, I always say to myself, everything always works out for me.
Everything.
And if you just say that, it just makes you feel better. Like that's something related to that. Everything always works out for me. It's okay. That's okay.
I try to remind myself that everything is happening for me.
Yes.
So even those things that I think, and in divine timing, like I know that everything is happening in divine timing. It might not be my Emmy's human timing. I want it like yesterday and it's not coming for 3 years. Okay, that's the divine timing. Because I don't have the whole plan. Like I can only see my pieces of the puzzle. I don't see the whole. Somebody does see the whole puzzle and they're putting it in at the right time in the right spot. So trusting that, especially when it feels like a really icky thing, right? That is, it brings so much comfort, right? To be like, okay, this feels crappy right now, but I remember that everything is happening for me and it's happening in divine timing. I don't know what this lesson is. I don't know what I don't know why, but if I can remember that, it just brings me more solace. So it sounds like that's what you're doing too. I love that.
That's wonderful. That's great. I love this conversation. So tell us now, I know that it's July or August when this comes out, but tell us what's next for you in the next little while. I know that I mentioned in the introduction, you're co-authoring a book. So tell us about that.
Well, I can't tell you much about it because it's supposed to be top secret apparently still.
Okay.
But if you do end up following me, or if you already follow me, thank you for that. And you will hear about it in August. So it is definitely something that's coming in August. It is just, I can tell you that it's a compilation of 14 of the most amazing human beings I have had the pleasure of meeting and knowing. And I know that the stories are going to inspire so many people. So I'm super excited. I never wanted to be an author. Everybody tells you as a speaker, be an author. That'll give you good credibility. And I was like, no, I don't want to be an author. I don't want to write. I just want to speak. And this opportunity came to me. And again, there's one of those things of talking about how we think things should happen or being open to, this was not the way I thought that this was going to happen. And when it came, the right opportunity, other people have said, want to co-author this book? And I'm like, no, thanks. No.
Yeah.
Soon as this opportunity came, I said, It was
Hell
like a
yeah.
full body yes.
Yeah.
So,
Fantastic. Looking forward to that.
me too.
And what else are you doing?
And of course, I have my Intensati classes, and I also teach Zumba too, because Zumba is all about joy for me. So
Yeah.
Zumba classes too. So those will be continuing through the summer. I'm actually not sure of the date yet, so it might work out to when this podcast is dropping, that I want to do like a big summer bash where everybody can come and have like just a huge Intensati day. So I'm working on that. And then just more speaking to groups on putting yourself first in order to show up best in the world. So that's what's on the horizon for me.
Sounds like a great summer ahead. So I would highly encourage anyone who's listening to check out Emmy and all her wonderful things that she's doing, and check out her Intensati classes. I'm definitely going to do that because I love movement. So
thank you. And
Yes.
you know, it's super easy. Like it'll be, of course, in the show notes, but it's literally like bit.ly/Intensati free. And then the promo code is Intensati free. The only hard part about it is remembering that the I is lowercase and the S is uppercase. And then in the word, it's all as if it's all one word for the code. The F for free is uppercase.
Okay.
S and
Okay.
F.
Well, you can send that to me, and then I'll put that in the code, because that seems a little complicated.
Sounds so easy in my head. But.
Okay. Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for sharing. And I love your energy. And I think that what you're doing is wonderful. And there's nothing better than sharing the love, right? So
exactly. I'm so pleased that you had me on today so that I could share the love. And I thank all the listeners who've made it this far, who listened to the whole thing. And I really thank you, Kavita, because your mission is so needed and so wonderful. And so I'm pleased to be a little part of that.
Oh, thank you so much. I appreciate that. And every conversation I have, we just learn so much more. And that's what I'm doing. So thank you so much. I hope you enjoyed my conversation with Emmy Rousseau, and it got you thinking about loving yourself first, and also that self-love is selfless, not selfish. Here are her key takeaways. Number 1, having depression is a medical issue. It's a chemical imbalance in your brain. It's no different than if you have diabetes and you need insulin. 2, it's a circular path. More gratitude leads to more joy, which leads to more self-love, which leads to more gratitude. 3, self-love is your first and most important love, and is how you can actually serve the world best. If you start serving from your overflow, everything is served a million times better, including yourself. Number 4, meditation, breathwork, movement, even walking and journaling, they help you to be present in the moment and tune out the external noise. Any activity can be meditated if you take it in a mindful way. Number 5, Intensati is a practice which takes the mindset and movement piece, and it is not additive, it is exponential. The physiology of moving your body while you're saying affirmations helps to sink into your unconscious, because you are not resisting the affirmations. Number 6, you have to believe that you can change your thoughts. A growth mindset means you can get better at anything with guided practice. 7, the intuition is like the quiet whisper that just speaks once and leaves for quite some time, versus the program in our heads, which is a replay in our minds which comes back over and over. It is not the intuition. 8, whatever question that comes to your mind is the right question for you. Put it out there and be open to the answers. They will come, and probably not in the way you expect them. Thank you for listening. If this podcast and its messages resonate with you, please do share and leave a rating and review. It means a lot and helps to get our messages out to more and more people. Until next week, my friend, remember, celebrate yourself and love yourself each and every day and each and every birthday. Take care and stay healthy and safe.